because why not? Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, welcome. So I'm Lori.
I'm Jeana.
And we're from Empowered Abundance. And we're going to do a podcast because why not?
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's really fun. And we want to share with you what we've learned about this model called M-Free.
What?
I know. M-Free. We're going to talk to you a little bit today about what M-Free actually is and why we wanted to start a podcast about it. So, Jeana, you start. What is M-Free?
I always laugh because M-Free is actually our coaching model and it's an acronym, but really at the end of the day, it's what it sounds like. I am free. It's given me the freedom to really transform my life. And so in the basics, it's 36 principles, 12 practices that you can apply in your life to really understand how both the human and the spirit work.
I love it. And I love what Jeana said, because this came to me by way of my freedom from 48 years of clinical depression, right? I had lots of counseling and help, and I knew Jesus and all these things, but there was always this underlying dis-ease that happened in my life. And I even started coaching and started helping other people on how to think differently and how to create the life that they desired. And even in the midst of all of that, there was always this underlying thing that was just not right. And I don't even have words to describe it, but that's why they diagnosed it as clinical depression, because I just couldn't come up from it. And I remember one day just saying, maybe I'm supposed to be a coach and have depression, because I kind of thought there was something wrong with me if I had depression, right? Because that's what I've been taught. I've been told that that's a mental illness and something was wrong with me and I needed fixing, right? And here I was trying to help people have cooler lives. And yet I was experiencing this thing. And so I remember one night just going, okay, God, maybe, just maybe, I'm supposed to coach and teach people how to live a fuller life and have this thing called depression. And I remember just being okay with it. And then waking up the next morning and it was gone. Like I was free from 48 years of depression, just like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened to me? Well, after I started looking for it, wondering where it went, I realized it was gone. And I was like, what just happened to me? And how do I help other people have this same experience in their life? And over the next 6 months, God just unpacked this beautiful thing that we now call M-Free. And it was another 18 months of it really me getting clear on how to present it. And in the midst of that 18 months, Jeana came into my life and had huge freedom from this thing, or with this thing. And really, it's transformed our lives and so many other people, right? Not just us, but other people within our container. It's transformed so many lives that we're like, we've got to get this out there more. And so thus the birthing of this beautiful podcast that we don't have a name for yet, but we couldn't not share just because we didn't have a name for it. So yeah, it's kind of the story of how it all started. Yeah. So talk a little bit about what did life look like for you before M-Free?
Yeah, before
M-Free.
Before M-Free, I was in a rush with my life. That's what it felt like. I was constantly trying to get to the next place, but I actually didn't know where the next place was. I just knew I wasn't there yet and that I should be there. I had gone to grad school and graduated, had debt, like hated what I had graduated with, was in a field of work that I felt very trapped in. I remember going to work every day feeling like I was in prison. And I didn't know that everyone else didn't feel that way too, to be honest with you. I just felt stuck and trapped. I was overwhelmed, I was anxious. A lot of the relationships in my life did not feel very satisfying or deep or connected. And I was craving that. And even more so with myself, I was a self-help junkie, always looking for the next ticket. Like the thing I needed was going to be around any corner, and I have to find it. And that would work for like a little bit of time. And then it was back to the status quo. And so it felt like stuck. That's what it felt like. Felt like stuck. And I randomly took off a couple days from work before I knew there was a retreat Lori was putting on. Yeah.
Random.
And a friend had posted on Facebook that she was going. And I was like, oh, that's why I took those days off. So I ended up at a retreat in Donley, Idaho with Lori. And from the moment she spoke these words, you are 100% human and 100% spirit, everything clicked into place from before. Like, I had studied a lot of yoga, I had studied a lot of Buddhism, I had studied, this and that, and everything seemed to be spirit or human. It wasn't a combination of both. And at that moment in time, I was like, oh, I've been negating a lot of me in my personal development, which now looking back is super exciting news because there's more. But at the time it was like, oh crap, like, wow. I walked out of that retreat after challenging Lori for 2.5 days straight. Awesome. Yeah. Like, what? No, I already know this. A lot of I know energy later. I started studying with Lori and coming to groups and trying to really apply this model to my life because I knew that it was something different than I had experienced before. And I think I'm about 3 years into really like loving on M-Free and exploring M-Free and applying M-Free and coaching with M-Free. And I can honestly say my life is completely transformed. And some might say on the outside, it doesn't look completely different, but the inside of me feels completely different. I don't live in that state of overwhelm or anxiety on a daily basis. I actually have fun a lot. Yeah, like I play a lot
We
more.
worked on that.
Yeah,
a lot.
It's something I focused on probably for 8 months straight. Is fun. And I feel like I get to choose. I get to design my life. It's not a life I look at wondering whose life is it. It's a life by design by me. And I get to change my mind whenever that's no longer in alignment. Like, nothing is set in stone like it once was. I don't have to take everything so seriously. And I know me more and more and more. And one of the lines you'll hear us talk a lot about is, when you know who you are, you'll know what to do. And I do. I can navigate anything on my path. Like, and I was definitely not there 3 years ago. So
yeah, I love that. And as many times as Jeana has talked about like the shifts she's made, every time I hear it, I get so revitalized and excited about it, because just like she said, when I was living where I was living, I thought I was the only one and everyone else had it all figured out and nobody else was suffering silently like I was. And then it was like, the more I stepped out and the more I kept making known what was going on with me, the more I realized how many people were living in that not enough. We're living in that, doing everything to get to that next achievement, thinking that that was the answer, right? And I love how she was like, I didn't even know where I was going, but I thought I should be wherever. I didn't even know where I should be, but I thought I should be there, right? And I feel like that is the roller coaster that I was on. Same thing, like total personal development junkie, right? This, oh, here's the answer. Oh, no, but it's not. Oh, here's the answer. Oh, no, but it's not. Oh, here's the answer. Oh, no, but it's not. Right. And I'm off that roller coaster now. And one of the funniest things about this whole thing called M-Free is, yes, it came through me. And people are like, is this something you learned, or like, did you come up with it? No, I didn't learn it, but I didn't come up with it, right? It genuinely came through me. And so I continue to practice it every day, just like everyone else. It continues to unfold for me, just like everyone else. It's kind of funny because I talk about how if we don't contradict ourselves next week, comparing what we said this week, then, you know, it means that we're not still on the journey growing. And I think that's the beautiful thing that M-Free gave me, was I'm allowed to be okay exactly who I am in this moment and allow for more. And I didn't realize that that was possible, right? It was all or nothing. It was either I had to be content with what I had and never have more, or I was in that constant need, like, like instantly I can go back to that. If I could just get there, like I need to get there. And it was this insatiable, just overwhelming need for that next rung, right? And now it's like, well, of course more is coming. Like, I'm totally content where I'm at because of course more is coming. And it's such a foreign concept to me. I mean, that was almost like it wasn't even possible before. Like it wasn't even a concept that I could understand, or that I even, how do I want to say this? Like, I don't even think that how I experience life now, I don't even think I had any kind of an awareness of that before, right? This thing that I get to live now is something bigger and more amazing than I even was hoping I could achieve when I was trying to achieve something. And I think that, again, that's the coolest part of this, is it doesn't matter where you're at and it doesn't matter where you've been. This is an opportunity for us to understand our truest nature as someone that is 100% human and 100% spirit. And I know for me, my human was always the thing I was trying to overcome, right? The wrongness of my human, because being spiritual is right and being spiritual was good. And if I could slay my human and whip it into shape to be good like my spirit. And now one of the favorite things we talk about in this container is everything's the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. Because I think that's why this thing that we have found and we have been able to share with other people is, it's so elusive because it's so backwards from what we thought the answer was. And now that's what makes it so fun. Like Jeana was saying, like the amount of fun that I have in my life now, the amount of fulfillment that I experience day in and day out is indescribable. Yeah. So
I'm getting as a listener, I want you to just pause for a second and just see how it feels when you start thinking about the idea of more, like inside of you at this moment in time. How does it feel? So I'll tell you, when I started this journey, the idea of more was super bad news. Like there was more to uncover, like, oh no, there's more of me to know, like wrongness of me. It was always about, oh, I'm not there yet and there's more. And I hope as you go on this journey with us, like depending on where you're starting, that will transition a little bit for you. This idea of what more feels like and what's possible. And just take a mental note. I just really needed you to pause and think about
Yeah. And I think that comes from this, the journey that most of us go on. If you've been in personal development for any length of time, it's like, oh, if I could just learn that one thing, oh, I feel like I'm just on the cusp of it. Right. And then we go, oh my gosh, like I thought I had gotten there. Now there's more to know and there's more to uncover. But when we're starting from a foundation of this thing called fulfillment and joy, now it's just more fulfillment and more joy and more fun and more, right? And it really is a strange transition, but I love how Jeana is asking you to pause for just a minute and go, what does that feel like in my body? Because guys, we're so often stuck in our head that we don't even know what life feels like, what it feels like to truly be alive. And I feel like, again, that's what this model, this thing called Emfrey has given me, is I feel alive every day of my life. I look forward to what more is and what's next and what I get to discover, right? It's like that idea of, Jesus said, if you want to enter the kingdom of God, and when I think about what he described the kingdom of God is, well, that's heaven, right? Presence with everything that is, this place of no more suffering. Like, I want to enter that. And he says, you have to enter like a child. And I think about that's the consciousness of that playful, fun, carefree. I'm not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, or if I'm going to have food, or if I'm going to pay a bill or whatever, because I know that it's always going to be okay. And I feel like that's another really cool, it's indescribable. It's hard to make words when it's been such a visceral experience of this thing called Emfrey.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep going back to like how it used to feel, but like the image I'm getting is you're climbing up a mountain and you thought you were about to hit the peak, and you've got like a heavy pack on, water's running low, and you just find out like you're barely at like the bottom, and you look up and you're like, oh my God, there's so much more mountain to climb. I don't know how I'm going to climb the mountain. Where now it's like my pack is light and I'm just on a journey to be like, holy cow, I can't wait to see what's up there and what's up there and what's up there. Cause it's just there's more. There's more to explore. There's more to see. There's more to experience. And it's just not that grip on me that it used to be.
Yeah. So basically what we're going to do in this podcast is we're going to usually talk a little bit about like Emfrey from the perspective of, like Jeana was saying, we have 12 practices and 36 principles. And I know 36 principles, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so many, but really it's simple things. The difference between the natural law of our human and the natural law of our spirit. So for example, on the spirit side is unseen, and on the human side is seen, right? I mean, that's one of our principles. So that might seem really obvious. And a lot of, as we begin to describe and unpack this thing called Emfrey, you'll be like, well, that's obvious. Yeah, there are a lot that are obvious. And then there's some that are very ominous. What's ominous mean? Why did that come up? What does that mean? Do you know what that means?
Like their clouds are ominous, like a storm is on the horizon.
Oh.
Things are coming.
Oh, okay. So some of them are that spooky, ominous. But I think that's part of the beauty of this thing, this system, this way of thinking, this way of perceiving life, this model of doing life, is that really when you see it broken down, There might be some things again that you're like, man, I'm not sure about that one, but the majority of it is like, well, that's obvious. Well, that's obvious. Well, that's obvious. That's what makes it so funny. Is it so freaking simple? Understanding it is so freaking simple. Applying it, however, is magical. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to show up here probably every week, and we're going to do 30 minutes or so, and we're going to talk about maybe a principle, maybe a practice, maybe a principle and a practice. But one of the best things about, for me, what MFree invited me into was the fact that I didn't have to know anything. And so Jeana and I are going to just show up and we're going to talk. And sometimes we're going to have answers and sometimes we're not, but we're going to have a fuck ton of awarenesses. Oh, sometimes naughty words. So if you don't like the fuck word, probably not the best podcast for you. But it's really cool shit. So you might want to hang out and listen, even if I do say a naughty word here and there. Jeana almost never does. It's so funny. We're very contrastive, whatever. Good. Yeah, Jeana's very polite and politically correct.
I like that you have that perspective of me, because I feel like I F-bomb it up.
Really?
Yeah, I like the F word a lot. There's sometimes I have a better word. Obviously, I'm not saying it at this moment because at times it's calling. I like a good fuck.
She's more reserved. Maybe that's what it is. But we're just going to show up and we're going to talk and we're going to have awarenesses and we're going to bounce things off each other. And we just want this to be really real and authentic, because this is a beautiful journey. And the other thing that I feel like we both have vocalized before, that this is a beautiful way to just do life, right? We've shifted out of this, okay, my role is this, and this is what I do here, and this is who I am here, and this is how I act there, and life was very compartmentalized. Whereas now it's just life. Like, yeah, I'm a coach and Jeana's a coach, and yeah, we have this beautiful coaching model, and yeah, we coach people through it. We teach people how to be coaches, and we do all these really cool things, and this is just life. And I don't have the answers, and Jeana doesn't have the answers, and sometimes we have an answer, but we don't have the answer, because is there really an answer or the answer for everything? And I think that's what's so beautiful, is we just want to show up and be real and authentic and just share life and how to use this model to do life so that your life is a constant improvement, right? You can get off this roller coaster and it's just the next version of funness.
The compartmentalizing just struck me, right? Because MFree is simple, like, and it's awesome. And for so long, like, I compartmentalized my life, but my human and spirit were enmeshed. And the simplicity is like, okay, yes, this is human and spirit, but the like beauty is in the separation at first of this model, so that we understand how it works. Because if we don't pause to even see the simplicity, we don't understand. We don't know how it works. And so I find it interesting. My life was so compartmentalized before, but once I compartmentalized my human and my spirit, I was free to integrate my life.
Yeah, I love that. And that's one thing that we do. We talk about how, like, we're enmeshed, and because we're 100% human and 100% spirit, and we're always that, right? But we don't know what's what. And so that separation, and then the goal, however, isn't to stay separated, that my human is my human and my spirit is my spirit, right? That's where we were before, compartmentalizing. But like Jeana said, when we compartmentalize it, then the goal is integration, right? And so now it's like, it's still connected, like it was over here, but over here it was all jumbled, and now it's integrated, right? And we untangle the mess of us in order to love us fully, in order to express that through who we be.
Yeah. And like, when I see where my human and spirit end and begin, I can harness the power of each
Mm.
instead of questioning how something came about. Like, I understand how it works, and now I get to use that as my power.
Yeah, I think that that's probably the biggest attribute of MFree is it's the how it works, right? Life is working. We're all I mean, if you're watching this, you're doing a life. But if we don't know how it works, we can't work it by choice, right? And we're conditioned to believe things, and we're conditioned to think things are real or think things are true. And yet our life isn't working well, or we're not happy, or we feel stuck and we feel overwhelmed. And we don't know that there's maybe even another option in life. And I love that that's really what MFree does, is it allows us to know how life works so we can work it. I love to use the example of like a lamp. And my whole life, people said, this is how a lamp works. You walk over, you turn the button, right? Well, other people were like, see, and they turn the button. See, this is how life works. And then I tried to do it for myself and it wouldn't work. But because somebody told me that's how it worked, I thought that that just meant that I didn't have a light. Something was wrong with me. Something was wrong with my light, because it wasn't lighting, even though I was doing all the things that everyone told me to do. All the things, and yet, right? And so now we like to talk about how your light might turn on like this. Your light might be a flip of a switch. Your light might be one of these things, right? Your light might be you step on a knob, right? How you do life is unique to you. But how life works, right? How a lamp works. Well, how does it work? Well, you have to have a light bulb. It has to have electricity. It has to be on. The light bulb has to be working. The electricity has to be, like, there's some fundamentals. But think about how many different lamps there are, how many different lamp shades. There's ones that sit on a table, and ones that sit on the floor, and ones that have 5 lights, and one that have 1 light, and one that are small, and like they have like even little lamps that are big, right? And how they all go on is different. And that's what I think is so beautiful. They're all lamps, but they're all unique. But they all work exactly the same from the perspective of they all need a light bulb. They all need to be on. They all need to be plugged in. They all need to, right? There's elements of the light that have to be there in order for it to work by design. Yet they all function and look completely unique. And that's the beauty of MFree.
Mm-hmm.
It's both. It's the design of how we're all the same, and the allowance of how we're all different.
Mm-hmm.
That's MFree.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited to start this journey with everyone.
Yeah. So guys, somewhere is going to be a subscribe button. Like, comment, share this. This is about freedom, and we just want to share it with as many people as we possibly can, that we can continue to share this freedom that we found.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. See you later.
Yeah, tune in next week.
Next week, or maybe we've
Maybe
had more than one. Binge it.
I like it.
Totally.
Binge away.
Binge away. Bye.